At precisely 0300 hours, Tehran time, all communications from the Isfahan province military command went dark. This was not a power outage. This was a deliberate, systematic severing of every data link, every radio frequency, every encrypted channel connecting the technological heart of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to its leadership. Is this a catastrophic system failure? Or is the world witnessing the opening move of a civil war inside Iran's most powerful military institution? The world is now holding its breath. The situation is not chaotic. It is precise. The silence is absolute. For the past 12 hours, not a single signal has been transmitted from the sprawling complex that houses Iran's premier missile development facilities and is adjacent to its core nuclear research centers. This is the nerve center of Iran's asymmetric warfare capability, and it has gone rogue. Initial intelligence from Western agencies is fragmented, contradictory, and deeply alarming. An internal report from the United States Central Command, or CNTCOM, leaked just moments ago, states there is a 95% probability that the blackout is the result of a coordinated internal action, not an external cyber attack. The report indicates a complete lockdown, with a military cordon established around the province. The shocking detail: the cordon is being enforced from the inside, by forces who are repelling units loyal to the central government in Tehran. They are not letting anyone in. War is imminent. Markets are plummeting. The world is watching. This is not a simple mutiny of disgruntled soldiers over pay. This is a schism, a deep ideological fracture within the IRGC itself. The Isfahan facility is staffed by the core, most brilliant minds, engineers, physicists, and strategists who design the drones that plague the Middle East and the ballistic missiles that threaten regional stability. It now appears this technological elite, a group intelligence analysts are calling the Isfahan technocrats, has seized the means of production for Iran's entire war machine. The motives remain shrouded in secrecy, but intercepted chatter from the days leading up to the event paints a picture of profound dissent. The technocrats reportedly believe the current leadership's devotion to foreign proxy wars in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon has bankrupted the nation and made it a pariah state. They see the strategy as a path to ruin, a slow-motion suicide for a once great power. Their ideology is believed to be fiercely nationalistic, prioritizing the preservation and advancement of Iran itself over costly foreign adventures. At the 3-minute mark, the first major rehook. The global economy is already reacting with violent uncertainty. Brent crude oil futures jumped an unprecedented 8% in the first hour of trading on the news. This is more than a regional power struggle. This is a direct threat to the global energy supply. What does this internal collapse mean for the 22% of the world's oil that must pass through the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point controlled entirely by the now fracturing IRGC? Financial institutions from London to Tokyo are running war game scenarios, and every outcome points to a massive inflationary shock. Tehran's response has been one of confused panic. State-controlled media initially reported a major telecommunications drill in Isfahan, a story that held for less than an hour before reports of gunfire on the city's outskirts made it untenable. Now state media has gone silent on the topic entirely, a clear sign that the Supreme Leader's office has no control over the narrative or the situation itself. This information vacuum is creating a dangerous feedback loop of rumor and speculation. Sources within the Pentagon confirm that the Ansar al-Mahdi Corps, the elite unit responsible for the protection of the senior leadership in Tehran, is being mobilized. This is a significant escalation. Sending in the Praetorian Guard indicates that the regime views the Isfahan faction not as dissidents to be negotiated with, but as an existential threat to be annihilated. Convoys of T-72 tanks and armored personnel carriers are being tracked by satellite, moving south from Tehran along Highway 7. Their estimated time of arrival to the Isfahan perimeter is 18 hours. A bloody confrontation seems inevitable. The international reaction is evolving from observation to active posturing. The United States Fifth Fleet, headquartered in Bahrain, has moved from Readiness Condition 3 to Condition 2, its highest state of alert short of open conflict. Carrier Strike Group 12, led by the USS Gerald R. Ford, has reportedly been ordered to exit the port of Dubai and move into the Arabian Sea. In Israel, Air Force activity has spiked. Unconfirmed reports suggest multiple flights of F-35 Adir stealth fighters are conducting unusual, long-range patrol patterns over eastern Jordan, well within striking distance of western Iran. The question intelligence agencies from Mossad to the CIA are racing to answer is, who leads the Isfahan technocrats? This is no spontaneous uprising. The level of coordination, the simultaneous communication cutoff, the instant establishment of a perimeter, The disciplined rejection of loyalist patrols suggests meticulous planning by a seasoned and charismatic leader. For days, the identity of this commander was a complete mystery. Now, a name has begun to surface in highly sensitive signals intelligence. The name is Brigadier General Qian Salami. A review of his file reveals a deeply troubling profile for the regime in Tehran. Salami is not a religious zealot. He is a pragmatist. Educated in engineering at Sharif University, before a decorated career in the IRGC's missile program, he is known to be a military genius, the architect of Iran's solid-fuel missile advancements. He was quietly sidelined 2 years ago, in the year 2022, for privately criticizing the immense funding being funneled to Hezbollah at the expense of his own research and development divisions. He argued that a strong Iran was the only real deterrent, not a network of unreliable and costly proxies. He was seen as brilliant, but dangerously unorthodox. This brings us to our second rehook, a development that changes the strategic calculus entirely. At 1100 hours Coordinated Universal Time, drone and satellite reconnaissance confirmed that the Isfahan faction is in full control of the Zagros mountain range missile silos. These are not tactical weapons. These silos house Iran's supply of Shahab-3 and Sijil medium-range ballistic missiles, weapons capable of striking targets across the entire Middle East. The critical question is no longer just about internal Iranian stability. The question is now, are those missiles still aimed at Tel Aviv and Riyadh, or has Tehran itself become a primary target? The supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, is now trapped. This is a strategic nightmare, from which there is no clean escape. If he orders the approaching Ansar ol Mahdi Corps to launch a full-scale assault, he risks a firefight that could engulf and destroy his nation's most invaluable military assets. The very nuclear and missile programs that have been the bedrock of his regime's power could be annihilated in a fratricidal battle. The resulting fallout, both literal and political, would be catastrophic. Yet if he does nothing, if he hesitates, he projects an image of weakness at a moment of supreme crisis. Inaction could be interpreted as a green light for other disgruntled IRGC garrisons across the country to join the Isfahan schism, leading to a complete and irreversible collapse of central authority. As loyalist forces crawl towards Isfahan, the conflict is already raging in the digital domain. At approximately 1400 hours, a massive cyber attack originating from IP addresses geolocated to Isfahan crippled Iranian state media. The websites for the Islamic Republic News Agency and Press TV were taken offline, replaced for 17 minutes with a simple, static image of the pre-revolutionary lion and sun flag of Iran. Simultaneously, the faction launched a sophisticated denial-of-service attack against Iran's central banking system, disrupting transactions and fueling public panic. This is not just a military coup. It is a masterfully executed hybrid warfare campaign designed to dismantle the regime's control over information and finance. Human intelligence, while scarce, is beginning to paint a clearer picture of the situation on the ground inside Isfahan city. Reports from assets describe a swift, almost bloodless takeover. The faction's forces, identified by a simple green band on their uniform's left shoulder, moved with incredible speed and discipline. They did not ransack the city. They secured key infrastructure, power stations, water treatment facilities, and communication hubs. This suggests a long-term strategy. They are not rebels seeking to create chaos. They are a government in waiting, demonstrating their capacity to govern effectively from the very first hour. This level of organization speaks to months, if not years, of clandestine planning. Now, at the 9-minute mark, the crisis expands, pulling in global superpowers. How are Russia and China, Iran's principal allies, reacting? Intelligence analysis suggests they are paralyzed by indecision. An emergency session at the Kremlin concluded without a public statement. Meanwhile, a Chinese Type 052D destroyer, the Urumqi, which was on a supposed goodwill tour in Tanzania, has inexplicably broken from its course. Its new heading, according to maritime tracking data, is northeast, towards the Gulf of Oman, at its maximum speed of 30 knots. This is an unprecedented deployment for the Chinese Navy in this region, and a clear signal that Beijing is positioning assets, preparing to protect its interests, and perhaps to pick a side. The first direct communication from the Isfahan faction has reportedly occurred. It was not a public broadcast. According to a source within the Swiss embassy in Tehran, which handles diplomatic communication for the United States, A fragmented, heavily encrypted data burst message was sent directly to the regime's leadership. It was not a negotiation. It was an ultimatum. The preliminary, unverified translation of the message's demands includes the immediate removal of 3 key IRGC hardliners, a complete and verifiable cessation of all funding to foreign militias, including Hezbollah and the Houthis, and the recall of all Quds Force personnel to within Iran's borders. The deadline for acceptance was reportedly set at just 24 hours. But the most chilling development has occurred in the last 30 minutes. Thermal imaging from a United States keyhole reconnaissance satellite, designated potassium hydride 11, has detected anomalous activity at the Parchin military complex, southeast of Tehran. Parchin has long been suspected of housing research into nuclear weapon triggers. The heat signatures are not consistent with troop movements. They are consistent with the fueling protocols for liquid propellant ballistic missiles. The gantry cranes are active. The silos are open. However, telemetry intercepts suggest the launch azimuths are being recalibrated. The targeting coordinates are not being set for Tel Aviv or Riyadh or any American military base in the Gulf. The missiles at Parchin are being aimed domestically. Tehran is preparing to strike its own city. They are willing to risk destroying their own infrastructure and killing thousands of their own people to crush this rebellion. But as the countdown in the Parchin command bunker begins, a new signal pierces the electronic silence. A single, high-powered microwave transmission erupts from the center of Isfahan. It is not aimed at Tehran. It is a tight beam broadcast, aimed directly at low Earth orbit, piggybacking on a known American military satellite frequency. The broadcast is short, a repeating 30-second encrypted audio file. National Security Agency Cyber Command has just broken the encryption. The message is not in Farsi. It is in flawless, unaccented English. And it is not a threat. It is a request. A single sentence, repeating over and over, from the heart of a rogue Iranian military faction, broadcast to the Pentagon. The sentence echoes in the silent, sterile rooms of Fort Meade. Confirming positive control. Isfahan is now a declared American asset. The request is not for aid. It is a declaration of allegiance, a poison pill of diplomacy. They have wrapped themselves in the American flag, daring Tehran to fire and see what happens. The information moves at the speed of light, a seismic shockwave, through the highest levels of the United States government. In the Pentagon war room, generals stare at the map of Iran, which has suddenly transformed from a foreign nation into the host of a potential 51st state. Is it a brilliant strategic gambit, a sophisticated trap, or the single greatest intelligence failure in American history? There is no time to decide. There is only time to react. Inside the Parchin command bunker, none of this matters. The final launch sequence is authorized. The target is locked. The commander's finger hovers over the firing key as the final seconds tick away across a massive digital display. 5, 4, 3. The fate of thousands rests on the closing of a single electrical circuit. The order has been given. The die is cast. But Washington's response is not a squadron of stealth bombers. It is something faster and infinitely more powerful. A direct communication. For the first time in over 40 years, the emergency diplomatic hotline between Washington and Tehran crackles to life. We don't hear the president's words. We only see their effect. In the Parchin bunker, with 2 seconds left on the clock, a piercing klaxon screams. A single red light on the console flashes. Order countermanded. Level Omega. The launch is aborted. The commander slumps back in his chair, drenched in sweat, his hand frozen just above the key. The missiles stand down. But the world is now on a knife's edge. The Isfahan faction has played the ultimate gambit. They have made their rebellion America's problem. To attack Isfahan now is for the supreme leader to risk a direct, catastrophic war with the United States. To do nothing is to allow a de facto American protectorate to exist in the very heart of his nation. The Civil War is over. The global standoff has just begun. The countdown in Tehran has stopped, but a new clock has just started ticking for the entire world. The old rules no longer apply. To understand the players, the stakes, and what happens next in this unprecedented global crisis, you need to stay informed. You need to be here. Subscribe to global_crisis_radar.